All right. Well, welcome everyone to the Zoo Labs Fund Information Session. I am Stephanie Barajas, Program Officer at the Center for Cultural Innovation. Thank you for joining us today. I am calling in from unceded Ohlone land, also known as San Jose, California. I am a Mexican woman in her early 30s with medium length dark brown hair. I'm wearing gold hoops and then like a black top with some white flowers. So we'll go ahead and start sharing. That's good? Okay. So during this information session, we will get to hear from our partners at Zoo Labs, Carrie, and then we will dive into the fund's guidelines and application, offer you some general application tips, and we will conclude with a Q&A. So now it's my pleasure to introduce you to Carrie Osborne, Director of Programs at Zoo Labs.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie. I'm Carrie Osborne. My pronouns are she, her. I'm joining you from the stolen ancestral land of the Ohlone people who have lived on the territory of Huchun, also known as the East Bay, for thousands of years. I am a white woman with reddish brown curly hair, wearing brown glasses, a green shirt, and a gray sweater. I'm honored to be with you all today representing Zoo Labs. Our founder and executive director, Vinitha Watson, really wanted to be here as well, but sadly she is fighting COVID at the moment. So while she rests and recovers, I'd love to share a message from her. Here it is. We started Zoo Labs in 2013 with a vision to invest in the Bay Area's creative workforce. Since then, we've been building an ecosystem that values art, ideas, and people. One that grows artists into entrepreneurs, bands into companies, visions into reality, and breaks down the roadblocks between art and business. Our alumni have shown that when artists learn strategy, receive investment, and feel supported in community, their success reaches beyond music, impacting other areas like social justice, technology, education, and performing arts. We've seen again and again that artists are creating small businesses that solve real problems, which leads to increased equity, community wealth, and job opportunities. In 2021, we started the Zoo Labs Fund in response to the lack of financial capital available to Bay Area music entrepreneurs, especially BIPOC artists, to afford starting or scaling up their creative businesses. Along with funding, the mentorship and other resources this program provides are intended to help you launch a new project, accelerate your business's growth, or help you uncover untapped potential. Your presence here affirms that there is no shortage of profound artistry, innovation, and hustle in the Bay Area's music sector. We are so grateful for your contributions to the local community and look forward to supporting this year's grantees. So with that, I will throw it back to Stephanie.
Thank you, Carrie. All right, so we'll keep going. So now, next slide, please. Guidelines. So again, thank you, Carrie, for giving us that context and for everything that you and Vinitha are doing to support the Bay Area music ecosystem. So now we will talk about the program's guidelines. And before we get going, please note that everything that we will cover today is already available on CCI's website at www.cciarts.org. /zoo_labs.html. And we're dropping that because it's a long link. So here we are. Again, you can follow along with the presentation and then also on our website. So next slide. So first up, we have the eligibility criteria, as in who can apply for this grant. So to be eligible for the Zoo Labs Fund, applicants must be a BIPOC or BIPOC-led team of 2 or more people with at least 1 artist member. Teams may consist of content creators, producers, developers, engineers, managers, advisors, administrators, and other supporting roles. But as this criterion makes clear, at least 1 member must be an artist. Two, applicants must be launching a music business or have an already established music business. In other words, this opportunity is open to businesses at all stages of development, from those that are nearly ready to go live to those that are up and running. To elaborate a little bit more on what we mean by music business, we're referring to enterprises where music, whether as a product, a program, a service, or an art form or cultural expression, is the key feature of the business, meaning music is central to the business and the work that you're doing. So we're agnostic about the form that your business takes. It can be fiscally sponsored, an LLC, a cooperative, a partnership, a collective, etc. Further, we're open to a range of music business types such as groups and ensembles, recording studios, music festivals, vinyl record presses, record labels, online platforms, or applications, and music schools, to name a few examples. And if you have any questions about whether your business would be eligible, just feel free to reach out to us. Next, all team members must be full-time residents of the Bay Area, which for our purposes includes Alameda, Contra Costa, Marin, Napa, San Francisco, San Mateo, Santa Clara, Solano, and Sonoma County. So team members can be any age. However, if a member of the team is 18 years old or younger, CCI staff must be contacted to discuss the team's eligibility. Also, you can be a previous ZooLabs Fund grantee. However, please note that first-time award recipients will be prioritized. And if you're a previous grantee, you must submit an approved final report and fulfill the grant's mentorship requirements before reapplying. And finally, to be eligible, applicants must be free of any conflicts of interest, which we define as a family or active financial relationship with the board, staff, or directors of CCI, ZooLabs, and Intersection for the Arts, since they are the fiscal sponsor of ZooLabs. So a little bit more about this. If you happen to be fiscally sponsored by Intersection for the Arts, as I imagine some of you may be, your relationship with them is not considered a conflict of interest, as you likely have a Model C contract that states a relationship of independence from IFTA. Additionally, Intersection for the Arts will not be involved with the selection of grantees. If you're a ZooLabs alum, there's no conflict, because ZooLabs and their team will not be involved in the selection of grantees either. So your participation in a past accelerator program is by no means considered an active financial or family relationship. Lastly, if you're a past CCI grantee, congratulations, and know that you don't have a conflict either, as your award through another CCI grant program has no bearing on your ZooLabs Fund eligibility. And moreover, CCI staff also are not involved in the selection process. So going back to the previous criterion, if you're a current CCI grantee, which includes ZooLabs Fund, Cali Catalyst, Quick Grant, Investing in Artists, please submit your final report and fulfill any other grant requirements so we can close out your contract before applying so that you are eligible. And again, if you have any questions about your relationship to CCI, ZooLabs, or Intersection for the Arts, you can always reach out to us and we can discuss further. So next slide. So award tier criteria. So the 2024 fund cycle is making available $225,000 and will award unrestricted grants across 4 funding tiers of $5,000, $15,000, $25,000, and $50,000. Teams will select the tier to be considered for based on their alignment with the tier's accompanying criteria, which we'll review now. So for the $5,000 award, which we label as seed funding, approximately 4 awards will be available this year. So teams that request $5,000 are newly formed. They have worked on the business for 2 consecutive, i.e. back-to-back years or less, and they are earning little to no revenue from the business. For those interested in the $15,000 tier, which we considered startup funding, approximately 5 awards will be available. So teams that request this amount are starting to have traction. They have worked together on the business for 2 to 5 consecutive years, and that means back-to-back years, and they are earning little to no revenue from the business. And then the next tier, the 25,000 tier, which we call self-sustaining funding, 3 awards will be available at this amount. And the teams that request this tier will have traction. They are on the cusp of realizing self-sustaining revenue generating activities. They have worked together on the business for 5 consecutive years or more, and they are earning some revenue from the business. And finally, our last tier, which is the 50,000, which we call our next level funding. 1 award will be available at this amount. And the teams that request this tier are established. They are ready to expand or further innovate. They have worked together on the business for 5 consecutive years or more, and they are earning a steady stream of revenue from the business. So to recap, teams will determine themselves which award amount to apply for based on the criteria that they feel most aligned with. And in the FAQs, we do have a little bit more about how to go about choosing the tier. It really is up to the team. So you may feel that you resonate with some of the criteria in one tier and then some of the other in another one. But again, it really is up to you to determine and to let us know at what stage you believe you are. So next slide. So who recommends applicants for funding? So applicants are not evaluated by CCI or ZooLab staff, as I mentioned. Instead, we assemble diverse panels in terms of demographics and areas of expertise to assess applications and make funding recommendations. To inform the review, panelists will evaluate applications against the 4 criteria below. The first one is group strength. The team members, through their individual roles and as a collective, are critical to sustaining the business. Next, we have artistry and craft. And this talks about the business reflects or furthers the team's artistic, creative, craft, or cultural practice. Then we have entrepreneurship. The team has a feasible business plan and is creating traction for the business. And finally, impact. So the business contributes to the Bay Area's arts and culture ecosystem in positive ways. And in addition, we ask that you think about the impact in terms of the grant funding arriving at a critical juncture, i.e. the team is at an inflection point where an infusion of capital has a potential for short-term or long-term impact, such as seeding the launch of a business, propelling a business growth, supporting the business sustainability, or investing in the untapped potential of an established business. And for this one, we also encourage you to think about not only the external impact that the business is having within the ecosystem, which can happen in many ways, and it can manifest in many ways, such as like the business may be creating economic opportunities for other artists in the Bay Area, bringing accessible educational experiences to young people, helping audiences heal, centering marginalized voices. Again, there's many ways that the business can be having an external impact based on the services or products or projects that it's working on. But we also encourage you to think about the internal impact that funding could have, right? Why is it important for you to get funding now, and how is it going to help propel your business forward? In the FAQs, which are available on our website, we also go a little bit more into depth about external, internal impact, and what we mean by critical juncture if you still have some more questions. So along with these review criteria, panelists will also aim to ensure that recommended grantees represent the Bay Area's diverse arts and cultural ecosystem. So to that end, the panel will seek to balance the final grantee pool across factors, which include community served, geography, the business focus, the arts and cultural form represented, or even a tradition, and other descriptive demographics. So next slide. Now let's talk about some important dates. So the application is already open. It opened last Wednesday, May 15th. So that means you can now access the application, and you can do that via our website or via Submittable. So this year, we're also hosting 3 drop-in Q&As, which are basically open office hours. The first one is going to happen on June 5th at noon. The next one would be June 13th at 10 a.m. And then the last one will be scheduled on June 26th from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And we try to schedule them at different times to give you all, some choices. So during this time, I will be available on Zoom for applicants to drop in and ask grant-related questions. This won't be a formal presentation, nor will it be recorded. Rather, it's an opportunity to casually drop in, ask questions that are coming up for you as you work on your application, and get an answer in real time. You are welcome to stay for the full hour or just ask a question and leave. Please note that you will need to register for any of these, and the registration links are in a few different places for your convenience in the Zoo Labs webpage, in the guidelines, and we have also embedded the links in the presentation deck. Lastly, I do want to note that we want to make sure that we use our time efficiently during these drop-in sessions. So we ask that you review the fund guidelines, the application preview, and the FAQs in advance so that you're coming with specific questions rather than questions that we've already answered. Next. So the application closes on Wednesday, July 10th at 11:59 a.m. and that's in the morning. That's an 8-week application window. Unfortunately, we cannot make any exceptions if you miss that deadline. So please save this date on your calendars. Make sure that you apply early, and just remember, it is 11:59 a.m. in the morning and not at night. If you email us the next day like, oh my God, I thought it was at midnight, it isn't. So please save the date on your calendar.
Just want to note, Stephanie, a
Yes.
correction on the slide. The deadline is July 10th.
Oh, yes.
It says June 28th, but it's July 10th.
Oh, sorry. Yes. So it's July 10th, and we'll fix that before we share with all of you. Let's see. So next, all applicants will be notified regarding their application status on Monday, September 3rd, 2024 by 5:30 p.m. So on that date, after 5:30 p.m., if you don't see an email in your inbox, please check your spam folder if you haven't heard from us. You can also view your application status by logging into your Submittable account. And we ask that before you reach out to us, to check in those places, check your spam folder, check your Submittable account. The message will come from Submittable. So we also encourage you to save their email and to allow notifications from them. So for those awarded a grant, there will also be a virtual grantee orientation on Wednesday, October 2nd at 6 p.m. And more details about this orientation will be covered in a little bit. And lastly, the funding period of support will be from September 2024 to September 2025. So next slide. So now let's talk about the application. And for your reference and convenience, we have a full application preview on the Zoo Labs webpage as a PDF and a Word document. So you're able to access those, and the link is in the chat now. So next, so first, some top level details. Applications must be submitted through Submittable, CCI's online grants platform. So if you fill out the Word document that we have and you send it via email, unfortunately, we cannot accept it. You must apply via Submittable. Another note, only one application will be accepted per team. So individual team members will not submit separate applications. Instead, the teams should identify a lead applicant who will serve as the primary contact for the application. We have enabled the collaboration tool on Submittable, so different people can work on the same application, but again, we will only accept one application per business or team. So teams that operate multiple businesses may request funding for only one business. So again, if you are part of several teams as the lead, you must choose one. But if, let's say, you're part of two teams as a collaborator, then that's fine as long as someone else is leading. But yes, you can only submit one for your business. So the online application also is uniform across tiers, except for a handful of financial questions, which are directed only to the 25 and 50K award tier applicants. But other than that, the applications are the exact same. And then the 2024 application has been streamlined. We did add a new section, and we'll go a little bit more into that in a little bit. It collects contact information, brief descriptions of the business, the team, and what funding is being requested for, an optional, as well as an optional demographic survey. In addition, the team is required to prepare 4 items, so budget and budget notes, which is the new section that we've added this year, a business matrix, a pitch video, and a work sample. So these are the items that the panel will be assessing against the 4 review criteria, which, as we went over, are group strength, artistry and craft, entrepreneurship, and impact. So next slide. So let's talk about the work sample first. So teams are required to submit 1 work sample and only 1 will be accepted. So as far as the work sample format and length, panelists will review up to 5 minutes total of an audio or video sample, or up to 5 pages of text and image-based materials, such as press, marketing, or any other promotional documents that you may have, like event flyers, concert posters, product advertisements, press releases, print and online media coverage, etc. Please note that the work samples must be uploaded directly to Submittable. We will not accept a document that links to an outside platform, such as Vimeo, YouTube, Issue, etc. Nor we will review, and we also won't review samples that are password protected. So if you submit a document that's a link to an outside platform, unfortunately, we will not accept it, and your application will be considered incomplete and therefore not eligible for funding. So you want to make sure that you are following the instructions that we have laid out. So teams will also need to include a 1 to 2 sentence description of the work sample. The description should provide some context for the panelists. In other words, what are they looking at or listening to? So if applicable, you can include playback instructions as well, including the length of the sample, where you want the panelists to start specific points and end. If you don't include playback instructions and the sample exceeds the 5-minute limit, panelists will default to listening or viewing the first 5 minutes. So we included a sample description, which reads, in parentheses, documentation of our music collective's live stream performance presented in February 2022 as part of the XYZ Festival. Start sample at the 5-minute and 3-second mark and play until the 8-minute and 18-second mark. So again, you want to give us enough details about what we're watching, what we're listening to, and by we, I mean the panelists. And also, again, if the video is more than 5 minutes long, let us know where you want us to start and when you want us to finish. So while this example included playback instructions, my recommendation is to edit a lengthy sample if you can. That way you ensure that the panelists are reviewing exactly what you want them to see or hear. Also, if you're submitting an audio or a video sample, think about starting your sample at a bold or poignant moment. So panelists will be looking at many applications and you want to grab their attention instantly and ideally leave them wanting more. So for text-based samples, similarly, think about leading with something that's attention grabbing. Finally, if the business creates, produces, records, and or performs music, we strongly encourage you to use a video sample, as this is the strongest work sample format that we have seen over time. So next slide. So budget and budget notes. And as I mentioned, this is a new section that we decided to add because we would like to understand how folks are making budget decisions. So although Zoo Labs Fund provides unrestricted funds that can be applied in whatever way is most needed by the team and their music business, a budget and brief budget notes are requested to help panelists understand how funds will be used and provide insights into the team's decision-making process and prioritization. So applicants are asked to provide proposed budget allocations for the following categories, along with some brief contextual notes. So the first category is team compensation, meaning how much are you paying yourselves? Independent contractors, are you hiring people? How much are you paying them? This is important for us to know. Equipment and materials, are you allocating some of the funds to buy new equipment? Marketing materials, anything like that. Venue, hospitality, travel. Are you guys hosting a concert? How much is the venue cost? Are you sending some of your team to a conference? Things like that. Merchandise and manufacturing, business development. So like I mentioned, if you're going to a conference or there's a class that you want the team to have in order to make you stronger, anything like that would go under this section. And we also included other, and some of those things may include fees, subscription, conferences, marketing, and advertising. So please note that the budget allocations that you give to each of these should be in whole numbers. So let's say you're applying for 5K and you say, I'm going to use 3K for team compensation, 1K for the venue, and then one more K for business development. So all of the allocations should total the team's funding request. And we also, again, encourage applicants to provide budget notes for each of the category to further elaborate on what expenses each line item will cover based on the business's current needs and business goals. So budget notes will give the panelists, again, like I mentioned, insight into the business priorities. The notes can be bulleted or in a narrative format, whatever is easy for you guys. So as long as the concept is clear and easy to understand. And if you're not planning to allocate any funds to a certain category, you can enter 0. Similarly, if you don't have any budget notes for one of these categories, you can enter NA, but we highly encourage you to provide some context and details. This is helpful for the panelists, and we also believe it would be helpful for you, again, to start planning about how you may use the funds. And I also want to note that we encourage folks to compensate themselves. This is not something that we see as done a lot, right? Like we've all kind of been in this business hearing that you should stretch your pennies, that, we should learn how to do a lot with a little bit, but we should also pay ourselves for the work that we're doing. So that also goes to any collaborating artists, staff, designers, contractors, anyone that you're working with, and pay them a living wage, right? So we have some resources for considering appropriate rates and ranges that are available at, we have a couple of calculators that you can look to if you are not sure what a fair living wage might be. And lastly, I do want to note that we understand that budgets are not set in stone and that budget allocations may change as projects continue to develop. So if you're awarded a grant, receipts will not be requested, although we will request for a financial report explaining how the funds were used using the same categories listed. So next slide. So the next requirement is the business matrix. So teams must describe their business using the provided one-page matrix template, which is available as a fillable PDF and a Word document on CCI's website. So the matrix can be uploaded to submittable as a PDF, doc or or docx file. So you have the option, but all we ask is that you save the document as a one-page document, right? So the final version should be one page. Panelists would not look at a second page if by accident you wrote a lot or the format got a little messed up. So please make sure that once you upload the final one, it is a one page. We have instructions for using the Google Docs if you don't have Microsoft Word. And you can also download Adobe's free Acrobat program in the application preview if it keeps the application itself, if you want to use the fillable PDF. So here you can see what the business matrix template looks like. It's meant to illustrate 12 key aspects about your business via specific prompts around your mission, products, and services, meaning what are you offering, a problem, what is the problem your product services are addressing, innovation, how does your business solve this problem in a unique way, social impact, how does your business contribute to the arts and cultural ecosystem, market, who is the target audience for the business. Next, marketing and sales strategy. So how do you intend to popularize your products and services? Traction. What traction has your business already achieved? Financial goals. What are the hoped for and realistic financial goals for the business? Next, contingencies. If the business requires additional funds or does not secure a ZooLabs fund grant, what are your contingency plans? Challenge. What is the biggest hurdle or challenge that your business is facing? And lastly, an opportunity. So what makes this moment the right time to receive a ZooLabs fund grant? So as you can see, you don't have a ton of real estate to work with, which means that the responses to each prompt should be brief. They may be even be incomplete sentences or bullet points. Again, as long as they're clearly understandable. And so, like I mentioned, given the succinct nature of the business plan matrix, it cannot exceed one page. And we want you to use a font size of 11 or larger. So again, we want to make sure that the document is accessible. So next, along with the work sample and business plan matrix, teams are asked to prepare and upload a 2-minute pitch video. So to provide some tips around this, you can watch this quick video featuring ZooLabs alum and inventor, co-founder, and CEO of ElectroSpid, Bosco Conte. So one thing to point out, this video was produced for the 2021 application cycle. And while most of the content is still very much relevant and helpful, there are a few things that we've updated for 2024, actually 2023 and 2024, such as allowing the pitch video to be up to 2 minutes. It used to be 1 minute, but we realized that wasn't enough time. So we dropped the link for the video. We intended to play it for y'all, but as you know, technology is finicky. So we're not going to be able to watch it together, but you can go on there. It's really quick, really helpful. But since we're not watching it, I'll also offer a quick recap of what the video is showing you. So again, for the 2024 application, the pitch video can be up to 2 minutes in length. Meaning if you go past this time, if your video is 3 minutes, panelists will not watch the last minute. And so if there's a lot of really important information, unfortunately, they won't be able to review it. So you want to make sure that the video is up to 2 minutes. The video must also involve the entire team with one or more members addressing the following prompts. And I also want to note that it's important for you to answer the prompts in the order that they are listed. There's a reason why they're numbered, and strong pitch videos, again, will answer the prompts in this order because each question and answer is meant to offer context for the next one. So you want to make sure that you stay in the same in the same order. So the first question is, what is the name of the business, and what does it do? Who are the team members and why are their roles critical to the business? How does the business reflect or further the team's artistic, creative, craft, or cultural practice? 4, who does the business serve? 5, has the business had traction? 6, how does the business contribute to the Bay Area's art and culture ecosystem in positive ways? And finally, how is this a moment critical juncture for the business and how will funding be used? So again, some similar questions to the business matrix, but we really want to understand the business model and where it's going, the challenges you're facing, your plans, and everything else that's being asked. So that's it for our overview of the guidelines and application. And now I'll turn it over to Carrie, who will go into Zoo Labs Learn for us.
Awesome. Thanks, Stephanie. Hi again, everyone. I'd like to take a moment just to tell you a little bit about Zoo Labs Learn, which is a library of free entrepreneurship courses. The idea behind our online school is to make quality, relevant business training that's made specifically for artists available to anyone who wants to learn. These are self-paced video courses and most take under an hour to complete. We believe strongly in this learning being made by artists for artists. And what we mean by that is that our instructors are either practicing artists themselves, or when they're an expert from another discipline, we invite a featured artist in to talk about how they utilize the concept being covered in that course in their own artistic career. There are currently 27 courses in the Zoo Labs Learn library that cover subjects like music business administration, telling your brand story, and practices to holistically manage your creativity. In just a few weeks, we'll be releasing a batch of brand new courses that will cover things like SEO for artists, manifesting your vision, how to leverage funding to level up, and more. And we've also put together a special bundle of 4 courses that are especially relevant to you if you're planning to apply for the Zoo Labs Fund. And thank you, Lorena, for dropping that link into the chat. So in this bundle of free courses, we have creative business models, small validations to traction, authentically selling your idea, and understanding your fans. Taking these is not at all required. However, completing them will really help you to organize the various aspects of your business and articulate the value that you're delivering when you come together with your team to work on your application. You can find the fund applicant bundle, as well as all of our other courses by going to learn.zoolabs.org. I think Stephanie.
Yes. Back to me. And we're almost done. We swear. I know we've been doing a lot of talking. So now for the award deets. So the award details. So during this portion, we will cover some of the perks of receiving a Zoo Labs Fund grant, in addition to receiving an unrestricted cash grant. Zoo Labs Fund recipients will have access to a suite of mentorship resources through Zoo Labs Learn, which Carrie just talked to you a little bit about, including on-demand entrepreneurial courses, virtual group learning, networking sessions, and also a curated pairing with a business mentor. So grantees who are awarded the 25K and 50K awards will also have access to a strategy session with Zoo Labs co-founder Vanitha Watson. So now Carrie will share a bit more about the mentorship offering. So back to you, Carrie.
Thanks. So Zoo Labs staff will coordinate mentorship logistics and pairings based on each team's needs, interests, and availability. So what that means is we will schedule things at a time that works for you and your team. Needs for mentorship will be assessed based on the online application question regarding mentorship needs and through the grantee orientation meeting that will be held virtually on October 2nd at 6 p.m. This orientation will also be a time where the cohort can meet each other, and we'll dive into the specifics of what it's like to be in the Zoo Labs community. We'll go into more detail on the various mentorship resources that we offer through ZooLabs Learn, which include the on-demand courses that I just told you about, as well as our virtual group learning and networking sessions, which we call plugins. Fund awardees receive free access to all future ZooLabs plugins. You can still attend plugins if you are not awarded a ZooLabs grant. Tickets are available on a sliding scale. The full team is required to participate in both the virtual orientation and in a 1-hour session with the chosen mentor. And as part of their award, 25K and 50K grantees will also have access to a strategy session with ZooLabs founder Vinitha Watson prior to meeting with their mentor. And because our creative ecosystem relies on the sharing of knowledge, 25K and 50K grantees are also invited to serve as future ZooLabs mentors in order to give back and grow the ZooLabs as well as the Bay Area's music community. That is an optional opportunity. Okay, back to Stephanie.
Thank you, Carrie. So continuing with the award details. So payment logistics. So if awarded funding, the lead team member will designate a single recipient for the funds. And the recipient may be the lead team member, another member of the team, the business, or other entity such as a fiscal sponsor. So please note that payment will be made in 2 installments. So either and actually we have updated this, but the payment will only be done via direct deposit for all of these awards. So CCI implemented a new policy that any awards over $5,000 can only be paid via direct deposit, and this is to prevent any sort of like check fraud or your checks getting stolen. We've been experiencing this and more and more. So we kind of wanted to institute this policy to prevent that. So the first installment will be 90% of the award, which will be paid upon signing the grant agreement and providing any requested information, such as maybe we'll need a W-9 or anything like that. If you're working with a fiscal sponsor, we'll also need their information. So for the second and final installment, which will be the remaining 10% of the award, that will be paid upon submission of an approved final report and once all of the mentorship requirements have been fulfilled by the team. So regarding the awards payment over 2 installments, we understand that fund disbursement may impact disability-related community support, other social benefits. Therefore, we can structure options that work for each of the grantees' unique financial situations. And the last detail that we want to point out is that grant funds, again, are unrestricted, meaning that you can use the funds however the business needs it the most. However, they cannot be applied towards lobbying activities or in a manner inconsistent with CCI's charitable purpose under IRS Section 501c3. And if you have questions about that, you can always reach out to us and we can give you more details about what that means. So next slide. Tips and techniques. And again, we're almost there. Now we just have some tips and techniques that are going to help you submit a competitive application. So next slide. So some general tips that we have for you. Have a friend or someone that you are comfortable with that may be knowledgeable about grant writing. Have them look over your application and see if any important details were left out or whether anything is unclear. So we also ask that you review all ephemera, all materials that we have drafted for you. That means the guidelines, the frequently asked questions, the application preview, the ZooLabs Learn bundle, applicant bundle that Carrie talked about, Bosco's pitch video, this info session if you want to watch it again. The slide deck will also be available once we fix those mistakes. Will also be on our website. So all of these are a resource for you, so take advantage of them. We also encourage you to apply early. Apply before the deadline to avoid running into any tech issues or any other thing that could go wrong, right? Like Murphy's Law, everything that can go wrong will go wrong. So thinking about that, submit early. If you submit early and you realize that you left something out, you made a mistake, the document that you uploaded is corrupted, you will have time to fix it, because once the deadline passes, unfortunately, we cannot give you access to edit your application. So please make sure that you submit early. And again, the deadline is Wednesday, July 10th at 11:59 a.m., meaning in the morning, not the end of the day, not midnight. 11:59 a.m. Yes. And the last thing we want to encourage you to do is to reach out to CCI staff with questions. We're here to support you. Contact us by email at grants@cciarts.org. Make sure that you include Zulabs Fund in the subject line, or you can call us at 415-288-0530. And we recommend scheduling a time to speak with us using our Calendly booking page. The information is now in the chat. Appointments are not required, but we're a small remote team. So appointments and email are definitely the best way to reach us. And now back to Carrie.
Thanks. Thank you, Stephanie. And I just want to reiterate the point you made about apply early, because I remember last year there were several really, really incredible applicants who waited until the last day and didn't get it in on time, and it broke my heart. So please don't wait until the last day or the last minute. It's open for 8 weeks, so take advantage of how long the application's open and get it in early. Also, about the business matrix, it's one page, so be brief, be clear. Bullet points or incomplete sentences are completely fine. Beautiful writing is not important, only whether someone can clearly understand each idea. If your response doesn't fit in one of the boxes, keep simplifying. Think of it as an opportunity to communicate the key ideas of your business in a really clear, concise way. Or what I like to tell folks is, think about your writing on a Post-it note with a Sharpie. Can you fit your idea on that Post-it note? If so, it will probably fit in the box of the business matrix. For the pitch video, it can be recorded on any device. You will not be judged on production quality. However, it is important for the panelists to be able to hear you and see you clearly. And I really recommend have fun with your pitch video. This is really an opportunity to let the personalities that make up your team shine and show off to the panelists. And for your work sample, choose a sample that can help panelists quickly and easily get familiar with your music business and/or aspects of it that are not addressed through the pitch video or business matrix. And I think that wraps it up for me.
Yes. So that's it for the presentation portion of today's info session. Thank you for bearing with us. Now we threw out a lot at you, but now we're going to go ahead and open it up for questions. Again, feel free to drop them in the chat, or you can raise your virtual hand. Lorena will help us as our moderator by keeping us organized and letting us know who goes next, or by lifting up questions that come through the chat. So we can go ahead and start sharing. Yeah, okay, we did that. So if anyone has any questions.
There's some in the chat, but if I'm not seeing any hand raised yet. So let's go ahead and start with one in the chat. There's a few folks that liked it. And so let's go ahead. So thanks, Christina, for sending this early on in the during this info session. For the purpose of determining eligibility for these tiers, should we use the number of years that our organization has been active or the number of years that our current team members have been working together?
Good question. Let me look at it. I mean, I think that if the offerings, right, whatever services the business or the organization haven't changed throughout the time that the organization has been around, even if the team has changed, then I would go off of by how long the organization has been active, but also note that the number of years that you worked on specific business is not the only determining criteria that we have. So kind of think about whether the current team or the business and what they do and what they offer, if that's changed, or what's more prevalent to what the funding request that you have now. Would you agree, Carrie?
Yeah, I think you want to consider it in relation to all of the other factors as well. But that also may be a situation that would be good to talk through one-on-one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we go over any questions where you're like, it's very specific and I want to be able to kind of lay it all out. Again, we have those drop-ins that are scheduled throughout June. And again, you can also schedule a time to speak to one of us one-on-one.
Great. Thanks, y'all. So we see Jan, your hand up, so feel free to mute yourself and ask your question.
Yeah, I have an interesting situation. I just want to know if we're eligible for this. I belong to a nonprofit, a choral organization that's been in business for almost 11 years at this point. And recently we became known to us a course, a jazz course, a small group. And this last year we started to sponsor them. And they have huge amounts of potential, but they need equipment and things that we don't currently have funds to provide. They're run by a BIPOC team. And we wanted to make sure that we could submit an application basically for that group in specific. And that they're being, we're backing them as best we can, that their relationship with us is not going to keep them from being eligible for this.
Okay. I think this one might be one where we have to talk offline just because we don't
That's
have a lot
fine.
of time.
That's great. Yeah.
But I would ask whether they're fiscally sponsored by you or if they're a program of yours, because I think that would determine whether they can apply it on their own or whether you apply for funding to support this particular aspect of your organization.
Well, will either of those be eligible?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I'll give you guys a call, because I don't care which way it is, as long as what I want just to do is to determine before we go through all this that we are eligible to actually apply for the funds.
Okay, yeah, so let's talk offline so we can
Okay,
go into
great.
more details. Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Jan. Of course.
Thanks, Jan. Okay, so scrolling back up to the chat, don't see any hands up. So Carmen, thanks for your question from earlier in the session. Can you apply for one tier of funding? And there's also a question underneath that. But first, let's answer that one. Can you apply can you only apply for one tier of funding? I need more coffee, y'all.
No,
That's the question.
yes. And I don't see the question, but I imagine that they're asking, if you don't get chosen for one tier, will you be considered for a different tier? No, you can only apply for one tier and you will only be considered for that tier. So really be mindful and thoughtful about for what tier you want to apply for, because again, you will only be considered for that particular tier.
Oh gosh, you're like a mind reader. Yes, that was the second question related to it. Yes, if an applicant submits their tier 3 funding, for example, but doesn't make the cut, would they be considered for 2-tier funding instead? Then thank you, Madeline, for submitting that question as well. Okay, scrolling down the chat. Okay, next question, Carmen. Can the single work sample be an edited compilation of events and images?
Yes, it can be. It has to be up to 5 minutes. So it cannot be longer than 5 minutes. So you can figure out how you want to edit it. Again, we highly recommend video. That's the most impactful and the best way to get the panelists to know you and your work. But yeah, so if you do like 2 minutes of a video and then the rest is like images, we're considering like one page to be a minute. So like if one page you can fit 4 photos type of thing, then that's 1 minute, if that makes sense.
Thanks, Stephanie. Great question, Carmen. Appreciate it. And then Kyle, I think I saw you raising your hands in the video. Feel free to unmute yourself.
Hey everybody. If someone in your group or on your team is also applying for this grant and opportunity, is that an issue at all?
It's only an issue if the person is a lead team member. So like, let's say they have a band and then they have a studio or something and they apply for both, then that wouldn't be eligible. You have to choose one fit business. But if let's say you're the lead for one project and they're hired on or brought on as a collaborator, but then they're also someone else applying is bringing them on for another project, then that's fine. They just can't be the leading person. And the businesses or the projects have to be different and not related to each other.
And when you say different, what do you mean different?
So let's say, I don't know, like let's say you're in a band and then someone else is applying to produce a festival where your band is going to play, then that's related, right? Like there could be some conflicts of interest there. So the businesses and the projects have to be unrelated to each other. Anything you want to add, Carrie?
Yeah, I think the goal behind that rule is more to prevent the same project from applying for funding twice in the same cycle.
Mhm.
So as long as they're unique projects, yeah, you should be good.
Yeah. And that's so that we can support as many like individual or like unique teams as possible through the funding.
Oh, thanks for your question, Kyle. So don't see any hands. So let's go continue through the chat. We have a question from Madeline. I think this was mentioned, but confirming that nonprofits are eligible to submit.
Yes. So again, we're agnostic as to the structure of the business. So if it's a nonprofit, fiscally sponsored, an LLC, all of that would be eligible as long, again, as music is at the core of what the organization does, instead of just kind of like a one-off service or, like an additional program that you decided to add, right? Like, let's say if you have an organization that's mainly about, I don't know, like education and youth, right? Like, but then you're like, oh, we have one program where we teach the youth how to play piano. Then that wouldn't be eligible because it's not central to the work that the organization is doing. It's just a one-off offering or like an extension of what they do.
Yeah, and I'll also just add that kind of the opposite end of the spectrum is true as well, in that if you're just starting out and you're applying for the 5K tier and you're not a registered entity yet, that's fine. That's totally fine too. That's kind of expected for the 5K tier.
Yeah. Thank you, Carrie.
All right. Thanks, Madeline. So next question in the chat. And then just to let folks know, we are a couple minutes over time. So if you want to stick around to listen to the rest of the questions, feel free to do so, but we want to respect your time. So you have our contact information in the chat on the website. Please get in touch with us and review everything and join us in our drop-in Q&A sessions. It's really helpful for folks to jump in and to answer some questions after you look over all the materials. I cannot emphasize that enough. So please do so. Next question in the chat. We have Wayne. So will you allow service examples from YouTube links?
No. So any work samples that are submitted must be submitted through Submittable. So if there's a video on YouTube that you want to use, then we recommend that you download it and then upload it to Submittable, following all of the requirements in terms of the sizing, the length, all of that, which are listed again in several locations in the guidelines. In the application preview on Submittable, you'll also see that reminder as well. But yeah, no links to outside platforms and nothing that's password protected, please.
And that's all the questions so far in the chat. Any other questions, comments, thoughts? Please raise your hand. Feel free to unmute yourselves. If you're a little shy, that's okay. Put in the chat.
How do I get a copy of this session?
Great question. So we will post the recording on YouTube, and then we will save the presentation slide deck once we make those few corrections, and we will put that information on our website, on the CCI website. Under timeline, you'll see a little icon that's going to say info session recording and then info session slide deck. So that should be available by Friday.
And what's the page that it's on?
Yeah,
I got it.
You got it. Okay. So we'll drop the link right now. Oh, there we go. So yeah, so if you go there on Friday, like after noon, it'll be available on there.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And I think that might be it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone again for joining us today. If you have any questions, again, please get in touch with us, register for a drop-in, or send us a quick email. Thank you again and have a great rest of your Tuesday.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck.
Bye. Happy applying.
Yeah.